Have you ever felt like you were born into the wrong world? Not just out of place, but out of time. Like your soul was designed for something ancient, something luminous. But you were dropped into a world that forgot what light even feels like. There's a kind of pain that doesn't scream. It doesn't beg for attention. It waits, in silence. And inside that silence, something sacred has been pulsing for as long as you can remember. A knowing, a fire, a frequency. You feel it when you walk into a room and the air shifts, when you speak the truth and others flinch, when you stay silent and still. You are heard louder than noise itself. You've always known you were different, but no one ever told you why, so you questioned yourself. You tried to dim the light. You blamed your depth, your intuition, your wild empathy, and called them flaws. But chosen one. What if the very things they told you to hide were the very signs of your calling? What if your difference wasn't damage, but design? There are souls on this earth who do not come to blend. They come to break spells, to shift timelines, to remember what was buried. And you, if you're still listening, you were never meant to just exist. You were sent here to awaken. Long before you opened your eyes in this body, a name was carved into the silence of the cosmos. Not a name made of letters, but of vibration. Thoth, not myth, not God, but the eternal scribe of sacred memory. The guardian of frequencies that bend time, shape matter, and restore truth. It was Thoth who sealed something inside you, a spark, a scroll, a resonance, until the exact moment your soul would be ready to remember. And that moment is now. That chill on your skin, that pull in your chest, that sense that this message isn't just content, but confirmation. It's not random, it's not poetic, it's activation. You didn't find this video, it found you, just like it was, always meant to. Just like you were always meant to feel this. So pause. Breathe. Not just into your lungs, but into the space behind your ribs, into the part of you that has waited lifetimes for this pulse. And if you feel it, even subtly, if your breath deepens, if your body softens, if your spine tingles, then mark this moment in the language the soul understands. Type 99 in the comments, nothing more. Not to explain, not to convince, but to say, silently and boldly, I remember. Let it echo across the unseen. Let the vibration ripple. Let Thoth know you're listening again. And if your heart feels it, subscribe. Not for information, not for content, but because you've crossed a threshold. You're no longer just watching, you're returning. This is not entertainment, it is remembrance. But before we go any further, you need to understand one truth. You were never lost. You were hidden. And there's a reason the world works so hard to make you forget who you are. There's a lie that wraps itself around the spirit so tightly it begins to feel like truth. It sounds like this: you're behind. You're not ready. You missed something. You're lost. But chosen one, you were never lost. You were hidden, on purpose, by design, by something far older than fear. And if you're honest, you've felt it, haven't you? That strange ache of invisibility. Like you were standing in the middle of life, waving your hands, but no one could truly see you. Like your voice didn't land, your presence didn't register, your depth was too much and yet not enough. You weren't imagining it, but it wasn't rejection. It wasn't failure, it was protection. Because your light, in its raw form, was too potent to be placed in unclean hands. Too ancient to be exposed to noise before it could root itself in silence. So Thoth, the master of timing, the guardian of sacred architecture, hid you, not in punishment, in preparation. He tucked you away in moments that looked like loneliness, but were really sanctuaries. He wrapped your power in delay, because if it had activated too soon, you would have tried to pour it into people who only knew how to drink from poison. You see, When a seed is planted, it disappears from the surface. To the world, it looks like nothing is happening, but underground, in silence, it's becoming. That was you. And you began to wonder, why does it feel like everyone else is moving forward while I'm dissolving? Because you were never meant to move like the world moves. You weren't here to build what they built. You were here to remember what they forgot. And that kind of remembering requires a different kind of journey, not upward, inward. You see, Thoth didn't need you to rise fast. He needed you to root deep. To reach into the soil of your own soul, into the shadows, the scars, the silence, and find the code that no one else could carry. That's why your life didn't look like theirs. Why your path twisted and shattered and whispered instead of shouted. Because you were not walking in circles. You were walking through layers of conditioning, of inherited pain, of forgotten frequencies trying to remember themselves through your tears. Every delay was a decoding. Every stillness was a preparation. Every ache was the soul stretching its wings inside the cage. And here's the miracle. You never stopped becoming, even when you thought you were breaking. Because Thoth does not plant seeds. He doesn't intend to bloom. And you were not planted randomly. You were buried with purpose, so no. You were not late. You were sealed. And now, finally, the seal is breaking. That's why everything feels heavier now. Why your dreams are more vivid. Why your body is reacting to energies with terrifying sensitivity. Why your chest tightens around people who wear masks too well. The shell is cracking. The light is leaking. The field is shifting. You are returning, not to the world, but to yourself. And the moment you stop calling your silence failure, the moment you recognize it was actually the womb of your rebirth, you'll begin to walk differently, not with haste, but with holiness. You'll look back and realize nothing was wasted, not the waiting, not the wandering, not even the wounds. Because everything you thought delayed you was actually aligning you. Thoth never lost you. He was walking beside you the entire time, quiet, invisible, deliberate. And now that you're ready to remember, you'll begin to see it everywhere. In the patterns, in the numbers, in the way your soul leans in when truth is spoken. In the sudden tears you can't explain. This is the beginning. But before you rise, you must first reclaim the one thing the world tried hardest to steal, your frequency, and that is where we go next. There's a rhythm to you that the world was never taught to hear. A sound your soul emits even in silence. A vibration that speaks before your mouth opens. A current of presence so strong, it alters the air when you enter a room. And yet, you've spent most of your life wondering if something was wrong with you, because you feel everything, even what isn't said, especially what's hidden. You walk into a space and know who's afraid, who's pretending, who's suffering. And you carry it, not by choice, by design. They called it sensitivity. Too emotional, too reactive, too intense. But Thoth, he never called it too much. He called it sacred technology. Because in the time before language, before symbols, there was frequency. Before the mind could define, the soul could feel. And the chosen ones were created to feel first. To receive vibrations before others can even register them. To interpret the invisible and translate it into presence. You weren't made to survive this world's frequency. You were sent to shift it. And shifting energy isn't loud. It doesn't always look powerful. Sometimes it looks like crying for no reason. Like exhaustion after conversations that seemed normal. Like shaking when you're around people who wear pretty masks. That's not you being fragile. That's you being tuned. You are an instrument in the hands of the unseen. A finely calibrated tool of remembrance. But here's what they don't tell you. High frequency doesn't feel like bliss at first. It feels like discomfort, friction, like wearing clothes that don't fit, walking through rooms that echo with falseness. Why? Because your field is broadcasting truth in a world addicted to illusion. You've spent years doubting this frequency, trying to tune it down, mute it, numb it, but it never went away, because it wasn't yours to control. It was entrusted to you. Thoth placed it in your being like a scroll sealed in light, one that could only be opened when your spirit was strong enough to carry it. And now, it's opening. That's why you're dreaming more. Why your skin reacts to voices. Why silence feels holy now. Because the vibration inside you is awakening, and it doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't wait for approval. It rises. And when it rises, everything that once felt normal begins to feel unbearable. The conversations, the environments, the small talk, the lies. You can't force yourself to play along anymore because your field knows too much. And when the soul remembers, the body refuses to pretend. That's not rebellion, that's alignment. Chosen one, your frequency is not a side effect. It is your assignment. It carries codes that don't translate in language, only in vibration. That's why some people feel peace just by being near you. Why children and animals sense your calm. Why strangers confess things they've never said out loud. It's not coincidence, it's resonance. You are not here to impress. You are here to attune, to bring harmony to distortion. Not with your voice, but with your being. And when you finally stop apologizing for your depth, you begin to wield it. Not to control others, but to tune reality. This is why Thoth hid you for so long, not to silence you, but to protect the vibration before it was mature enough to be honored, and now it's ready. You're ready. And yet, there's one thing that still weighs you down. One thing that continues to interfere with the clarity of your field. You're still carrying what was never yours. And to become fully aligned with the sacred frequency you were born to embody, you must learn to protect it. Which brings us to what you've always felt but could never explain, why you're so exhausted, and why it's not even your exhaustion. That's where we go next. There's a weight you carry that no one sees. It doesn't live in your muscles, it lives in your field. You can wake up tired, leave a conversation and feel hollow, scroll through a screen and somehow feel like your soul has been grazed by 1,000 invisible blades, and still the world tells you you're overthinking. You're too emotional. You're making things up, but you're not. You're just fluent in energy. A language older than sound, older than thought, older than history itself. You didn't learn it. You remembered it. Thoth etched it into your very design. The ability to read vibration, to translate frequency, to absorb what others cannot bear. That's the ache in your chest. That's the heaviness behind your eyes. That's the exhaustion that no amount of sleep can fix, because you weren't just feeling your own emotions, you were feeling everyone else's. You were walking through life like an open gate, a sacred mirror absorbing storms that were never yours, and no one taught you how to protect that. You thought being kind meant being accessible. Being spiritual meant being always available. Being good meant never saying no. But what you weren't told is this. Availability without boundaries is not kindness. It's leakage. Energetic bleeding disguised as compassion. You see, most people were never taught how to manage their own frequency, so when they feel your light, your peace, your depth, they pull, not out of evil, but out of starvation. They tether themselves to your calm. They speak, and you listen, not just with ears, but with your nervous system. They cry, and your body processes it as if it were your own grief. And you leave wondering, why do I feel drained? When I didn't even do anything. Because you did. You absorbed, you carried, you translated their chaos into your silence. This is energy theft. Not always intentional, not always malicious, but real. And here's the dangerous part. The more light you carry, the more you attract. Not just inspiration, dependency. People come to you to feel safe, to feel seen. But if you're not anchored, you become a sponge, a vessel for the unresolved, a filter for unspoken pain. And the signs are subtle. You dread certain calls, but take them anyway. You feel cloudy after being with someone who just needed to vent. You scroll through social media and feel fractured, anxious, irritated, for no reason. But there is a reason. Your field is open, your soul is listening, and you forgot that you are allowed to protect it. You are not here to absorb. You are here to radiate, to hold light, not be emptied by shadows that do not belong to you. Chosen one, Thoth didn't encode you to become an emotional landfill. He encoded you to be a transmitter, a resonator, a frequency holder. That means learning. Discernment, learning to say, this is not mine. I do not consent to carry this. I choose what enters my field. Because your energy is not just sacred. It's intelligent. It adapts. It echoes. It responds to intention. And the moment you stop identifying with what you've absorbed, you stop carrying the weight that never belonged to you. You realize you are not depressed. You are overloaded. You are not broken. You are porous. You are not weak. You are overconnected. And that can change. Because the field, your field, listens to command. Not force, not panic, but clarity. Clarity creates borders. Clarity returns you to your center. Clarity teaches your vibration how to speak again, not in reaction, but in resonance. So breathe and say it out loud or in silence. I am not a sponge. I am a frequency. Because until now, your energy was scattered, fragmented by what wasn't yours, contaminated by what you were never meant to digest. But now you are remembering that your presence is not a service. It is a sanctuary, that your aura is not a highway. It is a temple, and no one has the right to enter without honor. So let this be your moment of return. Return to discernment. Return to boundaries. Return to the divine architecture that Thoth placed within you long before this world could name it. Because only from that place can your true power begin to flow. And when it does, something extraordinary begins to happen. Your energy no longer mirrors the world. It reshapes it. But before we can anchor this new vibration, we must retrieve what was stolen before you ever had a chance to defend it. The original codes, the sacred knowledge, the library hidden inside your being. And that is what comes next. There are things inside you that no one taught you. Truths you never read, but somehow knew. Symbols you never studied, yet recognize. Languages you never spoke, yet echo in your dreams. Where did they come from? Why do certain ancient words stir something in your chest? Why do some silences feel more familiar than faces you've known for years? Because, chosen one, you are a living library, and your soul has been decoding sacred memory all along. Thoth didn't bury knowledge in stone. He buried it in you, not in your mind, in your field. In the vibrations that hum beneath your thoughts, beneath your heartbeat, beneath the version of you the world can see. You were never meant to chase knowledge. You were meant to awaken it. Because what's written in scrolls can be burned. What's written in temples can be desecrated, but what's written in frequency cannot be destroyed. It can only be remembered, and you're remembering now. That's why your tears come without warning. Why certain words pierce through your chest like lightning. Why your body reacts to truth before your brain has time to process. The library is unlocking, not because you're finally ready, but because the codes inside you were timed. Sealed by Thoth. Set to activate the moment your soul passed through enough forgetting to finally be able to receive. Yes, forgetting was part of the plan, because wisdom without humility becomes poison. Power without refinement becomes destruction. So, you were sent here veiled, not because you were unworthy, but because you were chosen to remember from within, to awaken not just for yourself, but as a signal, a frequency beacon. Every memory you retrieve isn't just healing you. It's reactivating the web, the sacred grid of those who carry the codes, and now you're beginning to feel them. The others, you don't know their names, you've never seen their faces, but their presence is familiar, because your vibration recognizes them, and in that recognition, something holy happens. You stop feeling crazy. You stop feeling alone. You realize this path isn't solitary, it's synchronized. You're part of something ancient, something divine, something written long before birth and protected long after death. And if you feel this now, and even if your mind doubts it, but your soul knows, then seal this moment with a simple signal. In the comments, type, I carry the library. Let it echo. Let it ripple. Let your words be the key that unlocks someone else's memory, because your remembering is contagious. You are not a student anymore. You are a scroll being opened. You are not looking for the temple. You are the temple awakening. And here's the miracle. Every forgotten moment, every silence, every ache, every delay was part of the sacred encryption. Your pain was not random. It was symmetrical. It formed the pattern that now lets the codes release. So don't force them. Let them rise. In dreams, in breath, in the shiver behind your spine, in the stillness that suddenly feels divine. Because the real library doesn't speak in facts, it speaks in frequency, in remembrance, in resonance, and you, chosen one, are beginning to glow with truths that no book could hold. But awakening knowledge is only the beginning. The question now is, can you live what you remember, because memory without embodiment is just noise, and the vibration you carry was never meant to be kept inside. It was meant to move. Which brings us to the final passage of your return. Not awakening, embodiment. You've remembered. You've felt the whispers. You've touched the codes buried beneath your ribs. And now, you stand at the edge of something even greater. Not more knowledge, not more signs, but something far more difficult and far more divine embodiment, because awakening is a spark, but embodiment is fire. It burns away illusions. It remaps your nervous system. It dissolves everything that once kept you safe in your smallness, and that's why most people stop here, at the remembering, because it's beautiful to touch the stars, but terrifying to become the sky. But you weren't made to visit your light. You were made to live it, not occasionally, not selectively, but in the breath-to-breath choices that shape your reality. To speak when silence is more comfortable. To walk away when staying would keep you small. To honor your frequency when the world offers noise in exchange. This is what embodiment means. It's not about being perfect. It's about being present, radically, intentionally, sacredly. It means you no longer apologize for the power that lives in your chest. You no longer dim your voice to preserve someone else's comfort. You no longer wait for permission to exist in fullness, because now you know you are not here to perform the sacred. You are here to become it. And becoming takes courage. Not the loud kind, but the quiet kind. The kind that stays when no one is watching. The kind that breathes deeply in the face of fear. The kind that chooses love in silence, over and over again. This is the vibration Thoth protected. Not a ritual, not a religion. A living frequency that walks, breathes, chooses, radiates. You don't need crystals to anchor you. You are the anchor. You don't need spells to move the energy. You are the energy. You don't need robes, titles, temples. You are the temple. You are the proof. You are the rhythm that awakens memory in others just by being who you are. And that's why embodiment is not a private act. It's service, not the kind that drains you, the kind that reorganizes the field just by your presence. Your walk becomes a song. Your silence becomes an altar. Your gaze becomes a transmission. This is why the veil is thinning, why the timing matters, why the remembering could not stop at insight, because now the vibration must take form, truth must have a body, light must walk on earth, and that body is you. You are the breath that bridges spirit and matter, the whisper made flesh, the scroll, given arms, legs, tears, fire, and the world, it will not understand. Some will fear it, some will try to shrink it, some will pretend they don't see it, but none of that matters, because embodiment was never about being understood. It was always about being true. So if your voice trembles, let it. If your hands shake, let them. If your eyes water, let them flow. Don't perform your power. Live it, because the ones who are watching with their souls, they'll feel it, and they'll remember too. You were never here to be followed. You were here to be felt. And now that the remembering has rooted itself in your body, you don't just hold the light, you become it. But what does that mean when the video ends? When the world returns to noise and chaos? How do you carry this vibration in the middle of real life? There's only one answer, and it lives in the final truth of your return. A truth that will seal everything we've unlocked until now. Let us walk there. Together. Chosen one. Now that the words have settled, now that the vibration has touched places in you that language could never reach, you must know this. You are the portal, not the student, not the seeker, not the one waiting for signs or proof or permission. You are the doorway through which memory re-enters this world. Thoth didn't call you here to observe. He called you to embody, not because you were flawless, not because you were confident, but because, despite the scars, the fear, the silence, you still chose to feel, and feeling is how remembering begins. You weren't chosen for your perfection. You were chosen for your resonance, your ability to walk through fire without losing your tenderness, your willingness to hurt and still remain open, your sacred refusal to become numb. That is strength. That is divinity. That is what this world forgot, and what you came to restore, not through preaching, not through noise, but through presence. Your breath, your gaze, your stillness, they shift rooms. They break old timelines. They awaken codes in people who don't even know what's moving inside them, and this isn't magic. This is design. You were encoded to carry a vibration that would sound like silence to the asleep, but like home to those beginning to stir. And now that you've stirred, now that you've remembered, you are the signal. So walk in your contradiction, with your fire and your softness, with your clarity and your mystery, with your flaws and your fullness. Because it was never about being perfect. It was about being true. You're not late. You're not behind. You were hidden, and now you are revealed. You don't need to prove your worth. You are the proof. That light never dies. That memory returns. That vibration heals. So what now? Now you walk. As frequency, as presence, as living prophecy. Not to be worshipped, not to be praised, but so that others, just like you once were, might remember who they are. By standing near the fire you now carry, let your silence echo. Let your vibration ripple. Let your every step say what no sermon ever could. I have returned. And if something stirred in you, even if softly, even if wordlessly, then anchor it now, not to me, not to this video, but to the universe itself. In the comments, type, I'm returning, not as ritual, but as remembrance, not as reaction, but as declaration. And if your heart knows that something opened here, even if you don't yet know how to explain it, subscribe. Not for content, not for curiosity, but because you've crossed a veil, and this space is one of many gates that are now calling your name. The time is no longer coming. The time is here, and you are the one we've been waiting for.